I love that.
That was good.
I love that. Regime,
That was sweet. That was really sweet.
So he's like,
No, at the beginning just was funny to me. He's like, hey, it's your boyfriend, Regime. As if she wouldn't realize that it's him. She's never seen him.
hey, it was a cute message. I hope she wins.
Busy fragging,
No. I love them.
dominating the
That's
server.
real, Rose. That's right. That's right. You tell them.
All right, folks, let's talk this game. Timeless versus Amplify. To get you guys into this mode, I suppose. Timeless are 2-1 right now. Their only loss so far was that epic 5 mapper against Timeless back in week number 1. They've got a pretty tough road ahead, I won't lie. So a win here is pretty important. They've had they've had most of last week off. They had the 1 match against Shikigami, which they were pretty comfortable in. But now, they would hope to have circled back, shored up a couple of things, and be ready to take on Amplify, who are still looking for their first win.
Yeah, now for Amplify, Phone and Winter, they've looked really good, right? Phone plays a lot of Sombra, plays at a really high level, and then Winter's hit scan really against just about anybody's has looked great. So it'll be Amplify coming off the start here, running Maga-based composition, and it'll be Timeless actually playing the Orisa into it. So we'll see if Timeless can kind of battle down this Maga as gap gets really low.
Yeah. Fortunately, though, they're able to disengage for a time. It's going to give a lot of that space over to Timeless. Can they make use of it? Phone's turret's down. Chino's still really trying to find some of the shots in between the barriers, and Chopper goes low enough to the combination of Winter and Phone that leaves Timeless with only 4 to work with. They weren't able to capitalize on that good early damage against Gap that forced them to give a bit of room early. So what's the next plan? Riker just getting minced out there in the open.
He's just getting mowed down by Phone as she pushes up with a Torbjorn, and once the Orisa does not have any of the armor left, just kind of topples over. And for Amplify, Mitch, I think one of the things we've seen from them throughout early on here in the season is like at times they've had a tough time keeping Gap up. Teams doing a great job of just focusing the tank down. So we'll see if they can do a better job of that today. Is obviously keeping your tank and Mog in the mix is really important, as you see it gets dangerously low.
All right, here comes that Kitsune rush now from Soluzen. Phone low to this. Squid, though, has to give it a little bit of room. Somehow Luke Mino is able to extricate himself from that situation, and Timeless disengaged from that Kiriko ultimate. Now, though, they've got to make up for lost time. 36% and counting. It's time to get busy. Turret dealt with, so now the fight can be on for young and old, and Luke Min is going to throw this sound barrier. Ewan going to try and reciprocate, and that will be conferred over to the entirety of Amplify, so Rocket will wait this out. Now that it's low, Orbital Ray being used, Timeless may not want to expend any more in order to win this fight, and frankly, they don't have to. Phone falls, Amplify now on the back foot, and there's an opportunity here for some real stagger if Timeless want to take the risk.
Yeah, Lucamino beats because you know you're going to get the beat out on the other side. The advantage for Timeless is that Squid ends up having that orbital ray, right? So you actually end up winning the fight using the orbital ray. Second, also a bonus of this, right, is Timeless now has a blade going into Amplify where they know they don't have sound barrier online, right? So Timeless in a great spot here to end up flipping this point in terms of percentage, taking the lead.
They pick off the on Phone. Rocket able to find her with what? Shurikens, apparently. And Winter, although she's able to pop that ultimate, Amplify are not able to make use of it whatsoever. Couple of these abilities going for pretty little. However, you've got a Cage Fire and a Molten Core on the Amplify side. The problem is that Chopper can, well, do the same. It's about to get messy.
Yes, a nice spear landed onto the Maga, just knocks Gap back just a little bit. That's going to buy time with some space as they're going to end up taking the lead. As you see they're trying to deal with this turret. Now the Kitsune rush coming from the opposite side.
All right, Solo's then building those ultimates pretty quickly. Here's that cage fight. Chopper, though, doesn't want to peek out into the open here. Definitely a concern about the damage coming in. I guess they use the damage from the Molten Core, though, to sort of chunk away at the cage fight itself, but it's a little bit too late. Orbital Ray doesn't save Riker's life. Rocket goes for a blade that Phone just stops midair, and that's a great turn of events for Amplify.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Timeless invests just about everything into that. I don't believe that Gap actually, if he did connect with somebody with the cage fight, we don't actually see it. It was Lucamino. Lucamino ends up falling at the hands of Winter with an assist from the Maga. So potentially it's the Lucio stuck inside of that cage. But Amplify with another fight win off the back of Phone picking up Rocket when he's trying to blade. I mean, that is massive there. So you're going to amp it up here for Lucamino, keeping one player alive. Going to have to beat.
Match beats in this. Oh, okay, that could have been big. Nicely done by Ewan, though. Gets the beat down just in time. Would have been a decent chunk of damage to deal with. Look at how low Rocket and Chopper are just over the course of the fight. The Sojourn And of course, that Torbjorn really whittled down those health pools. This is great stuff for Amplify. Their DPS been firing. Winter doesn't even have to use that next overclock. A great start for our 0-4 team.
A little Valentine's Day buff here for Amplify, right? Phone plays really well on the Torbjorn early on. You're able to get this first point. I also think you just have a distinct advantage. Like we talked about in the last series, right? I know with Orisa versus like Maga, and then you kind of throw like Sigma into the mix, right? In terms of like tanks you could pick. It seems like the Maga just in general comes out on top like most of the time, right? So Amplify comes out in that close quarter map. They play the Maga early on, extremely effective.
And that was the play here for Timeless. Amplify might also just not prefer the Malga here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, to switch to the Orisa after you just obviously had success in the Maga. I'm curious your thoughts here, because they're playing the same backline, right? I mean,
are you scared about environmentals? Or the fact that someone like you can play these airborne characters that can be a bit more punishing to Malga, especially with the burst that Rocket could have at their disposal?
I think like it's more of the choke here potentially, right? Like the cardiac overdrive and like getting aggressive onto the point quite easy on the previous point. Where here, right, you kind of have this like two narrow chokeways, and to be able to kind of just like serve on the point, like the Orisa with the fortify and the spear spin can kind of take that space maybe a bit better, a little bit more effective.
Well, we're seeing a lot of that. A lot of javelin spinning going on here, but Riker just not quite getting the healing that he needs. Squid able to double back though and at least keep the Orisa alive. Solazen went low. Looks like there was some pressure, probably from Rocket on the periphery of this fight. But does Chopper really have good sight lines here? A little bit closer than they otherwise would like to be. This is better, but they might have to continue to pivot around the point here to be effective. Turret is now down, but that could be replenished pretty quickly. And Timeless is still looking for a way in. A lethal blow, a pick, anything like that. But it's Phone that finds the first one, just spamming these shots over towards the doorway. Timeless are grouped up, which really makes them pretty exposed to just the incidental Torb damage.
And the Torb seems so much more like impactful than like now we're seeing the Echo, right? And we saw Genji in the first round where Phone's like turrets becoming a nuisance, right? Timeless time and time again has to kind of deal with it, and then also constantly finding like the dude Torb's doing a ton of damage at the moment. I mean, whether it's like in Overload or just in general, and being able to just find players with like 1 or 2 headshots cross map, it's massive for Amplify.
Armor knocks the Gap. I think if they keep the pressure up now for Timeless, they're going to get the Orisa. Nicely done. Gap didn't have the chance for another Fortify through that Terror Surge because it wasn't quite online, but it doesn't seem to matter. Oh, buddy, Amplify lay those support ultimates, and it works out beautifully. Timeless don't have a chance to get Luke's beat into the fight for whatever reason.
Yeah, they end up holding on to it here, and you're going to have Amplify. They don't have any support ultimates hit, Mitch, but you're like one fight away from taking this map, which would be huge for them. And even if Timeless comes in with that sound barrier per se, you can use the Terror Surge plus the Molten Core combo, right? Kind of just rip all those shields off right away.
That's really disruptive for Amplify. Gap is very low. Timeless not in a position to take advantage of it, or are they? Chopper keeps that damage coming on the Orisa, and there's no chance for Amplify to keep Gap in the fight. At this point, I think you just let this one go to the Keeper and say, all right, we'll just have to take the point back later.
Yeah, I mean, Gap just takes so much damage, it's unhealable. It's like absolutely deleted. I mean, that's Chopper's overclock that goes on during that, right? So it's a lot of Sojourn burst damage going down. Can't really account for that potentially, so you end up just kind of losing the tank straight away. But Gap always kind of playing with his life on a knife's edge. So we'll see how they go about retaking it here.
Phone, she's caught in the corner here. Riker comes in with the javelin spin, and yes, it blends, folks. Phone out of the fight already. Amplify supposedly looking to come back in to that Terror Surge combo. Won't really have the other part of it. I'm going to have that Molten Core to combine with it. Luke also, crucially, held that beat. Didn't have to use it in the previous fight, so it's got to be used in the next one. Otherwise, you get lapped by Ewan and you can't really exercise your ult advantage.
Timeless does a good job in that last fight, right? Riker connects with one of these spears, and then they just follow it up just like that. Again, it's Chopper taking out Ewan.
Oh, so sick. Yeah, Chopper now getting a lot of setup. Those javelins connecting. Make it very easy. Even if you're not like a fully charged rail at that point, you know it's like basically a free headshot if your aim is good enough, and at this level, it always is. So now Amplify, have let this round get away from them a little bit. Timeless have built up both of their support ultimates. And this fight is very, very important. They just need to avoid getting players picked off on their way in, and these javelins are a problem.
This fight is really dangerous for Amplify. It'll be Winter here on the high ground. We'll see if she can make work with this overclock, because they're actually going to use a Kitsune Rush. Oh, that's a huge pickoff. And that's Lucamino with his beat as well.
Yeah, Lucamino is holding his beat for Overwatch 4 at this point. Winty here, not able to get into the fight right now, but this orbital ray looks pretty darn sad with no supports to follow up on it. And that should be it for Amplify. Get on in here. Timeless obviously can take a refight with that sound barrier. Luke just desperately looking to part with it. And here it is. Used at the start of this engagement now. Rocket though can't get in and they couldn't touch.
Yeah, really well played by Amplify.
It'd be like that. Okay, there we go.
It's like, it's like we're just being merged here. We're gonna have like 4 of us here at one point. But no, that is a really impressive first map from Amplify. And I was a bit worried because you were just kind of getting picked off and not really getting any fights, and like Timeless is getting up to like 70% or so in terms of percentage, where you were going to leave yourself in a situation where it was just one fight for Amplify to be able to take the map. But Winter gets that high ground spot, and she comes up clutch with that shot on Lucamino.
It's sick, and she's set up at pretty long range there. She is looking to make a solo play. This is sick. Nicely done. I'm a big fan of this Amplify. Of course, they, over the course of this OWCS stage, have been able to win themselves a few maps here and there, right? But still looking at that crucial series win. Right now, though, on a pound-for-pound basis, they're looking like they can handle Timeless.
This is why I don't know if you remember, but when we did the Amplify versus SSG game, this is why I was like, we see how good Winter is on the Sojourn. And she like didn't play it at all during that series, right? Against Seeker. And I'm like, you can play this at the highest level. Like, we've seen the performances like that sick before. Plays it here against Chopper, who's tremendous, right? And goes easily toe to toe with him.
Yeah, I mean, and that, didn't they win a Flashpoint? Suravasa, right? Against SSG. So. That was a 3-1 series. So, I mean, this team's got a ton of potential. I'm very curious.
This team's been close. Like, it's not like, we've seen some teams in the past that are, they're not close. This team is like close to getting like, one of these games, right? You just kind of need like, obviously you get a map to go your way, right? Maybe kind of, and a lot of their maps kind of go down to the wire, right? And they end up just kind of like losing situational fights. Like you just need maybe a few things to go their way, and they'll get in the win column.
Yeah, this team has won a map in 3 out of 4 of their games so far in OWCS. So, they're obviously looking to, maybe win more than just one map, but this is a great start. Now, though, it's up to Timeless to go, right, have we seen enough of this Amplified team to start to poke at some of their weaknesses? Is there a map where like we can set up a dive scenario where maybe Reich is very powerful? Can we, get Phone off the Torb? But if you ban Torb,
I was going to say,
she's going to play Sombra, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Torb ban. It does not seem like it is a fan favorite on the side of Timeless. We didn't really see Rocket play it at all. And he loves to play like Tracer, Genji, like those type of heroes, right? So I think a Torb ban makes a ton of sense.
Okay. Even then, I don't think it really is going to hamper this Amplify team too much. The Sombra gameplay has been pretty sick. Sombra Sojourn for them. Excellent. So these are the maps, of course, that we have to select from. Flashpoint, we're often seeing coming up second. Suravasa is preferable. Some teams, though, with specific approaches to the game, are taking Numbani in that second map spot, or even Eichenwalde to some degree, and tried to force us over there. So I'm curious to see if that's the case. This team also likes to, Amplify, that is. I think they like to play Havana, no?
You've seen them play Havana a bunch, yeah.
Right. They at least on the last phase of the map, they played that Orisa style that looked really good. I want to say that was against Avidity that they managed to win the Havana map. So yeah, Dorado. Okay. So that tells me all I need to know about like what Timeless thinks Amplify's weakness is. We know what the sort of the go-to comp is on this particular map. I don't know if Torb is as effective as against Winston when trying to fight him from outside of that Winston bubble, right? You can still use that window to be quite effective and still get those dive kills. But how do you pair bans with this now? Or if you're, let's say, if you're Amplify, do you ban Winston and try and force it to like a hazard?
Diva. Like Diva Hazard, potentially. I was thinking if you are Timeless, potentially, okay, so Crazy Cat will come in for solos. And I think we've seen them do this sub a few times for the Brig play, potentially, when you don't need the Lucio in the mix. I think for Timeless, even, like, you could ban Sojourn and force, like, Ashe long range type of stuff. You could force Widowmaker.
Widow.
We've seen Winter actually go and play, like, they play, like, Torb and Tracer and different things like that, right? When the Sojourn's not in. So potentially you could force something like that. See Chopper play, like, an Ashe, or even opens up a little bit more dive for Timeless. So that's definitely an option.
I don't know if, Riker plays a ton of Wrecking Ball as well. I don't know if people are going to follow Infected's lead and play that on this map, but I don't know if we've ever really had concerns about Riker's flexibility as a tank player, though. I feel like they kind of can sort of go wherever they need to.
You also, if you're going to play the Wrecking Ball, play a little bit into like Amplify's wheelhouse, right? Phone, she wants to play the Sombra, right? Being a real easy hack target for Sombra is Wrecking Ball, so maybe a weird matchup.
I think more and more teams are going to play ball on this map now. I think after what we've seen. So, I mean, yeah, if I'm Timeless, because I don't know if Winston is really where you want to be right now, even if it can be strong conditionally in some cases. Ball has the same ability defensively on this map to like cycle those dives, but we saw in the previous game that like the echo pick against the ball made it really hard for them to like be safe diving on in. So
we do have the bans. So the first ban actually was obviously Timeless, and they get rid of Tor. Yeah, so I mean that's but like after we saw map number 1, right? Rocket wanted to play Echo, Genji. We've seen him obviously play a ton of Tracer in the past, right? Doesn't exactly want to play the Torb. And then Amplify, they ban the Wrecking Ball. I actually really like that ban. Like we've seen them gonna get tore through by the Wrecking Ball, like not able to kind of really deal with the aggression and just kind of the weird gameplay mechanics that he brings in. So maybe you get it a little bit more even footing, right? I mean, well, what do you mean? You would just play Winston, right? If you're Timeless, but
that's what I mean.
You feel better about dealing with Winston than you do Wrecking Ball. I mean, nobody really knows how to deal with the ball.
Of course, between January 24th, February 23, so still 9 days for this, you can obviously earn yourself some fantastic in-game cosmetics for watching on YouTube or Twitch. Just make sure you connect your account and let the drops flow on in.
I got all these. I evidently I had left to reinforce the stream on for just way too long. I ended up getting them though, and then I also you know, the drive is going on right now, so the drive is going on.
Drive,
make sure you get, make sure you get your rank games.
Those name tags.
Pick your teammates wisely. Anyway, so make sure you get those dubs.
That's crazy. I played with you and Johnny for like the first time in got to be almost a year, and you guys quit after 2 games. I was like, man, what's up with that?
Pick your teammates wisely.
That's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy to say that.
I mean, I'm just,
in the big 2025.
I didn't say it was your fault. I didn't say it was Johnny's fault. I was just saying, you know.
Matt, you think plausible deniability is a defense, but I've been doing this with you far too long now, brother. I don't know what to say to you.
Long. I mean,
can you? Right. So we have a diva here from Timeless.
Yeah.
We have seen this on this map before, right? As someone who can. You're less, I really do think that you're less aggressive, and so much of your game plan revolves around like being the counter dive or the disruptor to the enemy Winston or whatever it may be. Also, has it not a viable option now on this map with even, obviously maybe it's easy for Winston to traverse, now with Torb banned?
I mean, Torb is one of the heroes that deals with Hazard the best, right? So you would think that Hazard is definitely an option. So Winter looks to be coming out maybe on the Widow here. Just a TP across, bubble down. See if you can get a shot here. I wonder, so Amplify looks like they're going to play Ana Lucio. So a lot of teams actually kind of combo the Ana with a Brig, right? The speed, you know, just kind of the boop as like the just kind of peel and disengage. Obviously you can use, but it seems like Brig a little bit more impactful, especially knowing that they're going to want to run like Tracer on the other side.
I don't hate the Ana pick though against a less like aggressive dive tank in Diva. Someone who's a little bit more balanced.
The Ana pick is great. Yeah, I'm just saying the Lucio. I think you kind of combo, you know, the Ana with like a Brig, right? It's a little bit safer.
Yeah, okay. Curious to see what Human's function is in the shell of this composition. Bio there over for Riker. And you can see just like there's no, Timeless don't have the ability. Diva's a little bit more short range in the dive. Like she cannot cross the gap to the Widow right now. So we're going to see Timeless give a lot of space. But the question is like, at what point are they going aggressive? And what is their, like, who are they focusing here?
Oh, a 2-player bio actually that connects with Chopper and Lucamino is they're in a lot of trouble here. They can keep gap alive. I mean, I think though the job is done, right? You connect with 2.
Yeah, I think you're happy with this, right? Trading that kill back is pretty good, and you have a chance to fall back. I don't think Amplify can now exacerbate this further. And the car, okay, is now moving. So does it though get that far up this slope here from the choke? Eventually, Riker is going to want to contest it. And this is a fight that occurs at a more dangerous range, a proximity for the Widow.
Yeah, Phone actually could have connected with kill onto Riker there, would have been massive. I think you actually get it going in. That's going to be the Nano here onto Riker, making a play for the Widow as a nice peel comes in.
Honestly, the timing of that defense matrix is really good as well. Crazy Cat goes for the sleep. Riker's able to preempt it and, yeah, doesn't have that ability baited out. So nicely done. In windows, in these spots, D.Va can be the aggressor. I think the Nano, though, goes a long way towards facilitating for that, and nice bio there.
But you see in that instance, right? Like, Ewan gets a nice boop at the start, right? And it saves them for a little bit. But the Lucio can't really stand there and like brawl and defend like the Brig obviously can, right? Brig, you start to swing, do damage, the healing starts to ramp, right? You got the armor packs that you gotta give out. Like it just seems like a way better option if you're gonna be playing in a little bit more of a defensive mode.
The idea might be actually to have a support with more mobility. They can get up and join Widow in her purchase and peel for her, as opposed to Brig, who can only throw a heal pack up to her and then continue to fight on the high ground. So maybe something to divert the D.Va or whoever might dive on the Widow, but it seems a little marginal. Oh, God. Good tracking there from Rocket. Incredible tracking.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he doesn't want to play the Torb. He's like, keep me on Tracer, keep me on Genji, right? It's Phone and Winter. I know Phone's been playing the Tracer, but Winter, she will end up picking up the Genji here. Now, okay, so you're not playing this Widow. You can get aggressive behind the sound barrier, see how this kind of plays out, but I think you're putting a lot of eggs in the Widow basket if you're like trying to pick a Lucio to defend the Widow. I think that's kind of crazy. I think you gotta play the Brig.
All right. Crazy Cat holding on the Nano here. Over to Gap. How do they stop this? Okay. Well, they don't have to stop the Winston because apparently inanimate objects have done that for them for now. Well, we have now forced Timeless to regroup on the low ground with that Nano. So, reasonable minds may differ on whether or not that was a worthwhile exchange of resources. Gap just gets blown to smithereens. The Boring Company goes to work on him. And there is Chopper. Nicely done. Those rails are connecting. Winter just caught out and Phone. She went for a pulse bomb that got eat up. God, everything went right there for Timeless. That is a backbreaker, man. Holy!
You save up so long for that sound barrier and it just gets chunked through by the Nano and the overclock as it'll be Gap going over the D.Va. You're going to get a touch here for Amplify.
Rocket with a pulse, though, waiting for an opportunity to divest himself of this one. No connect. Bionade forced the recall, though. Phone, she has to do the same. Out of the fight for a time. A little bit more dangerous now for Amplify's Tracer, as Gap is just constantly having this damage come at them. And eventually Winter is taken down by Chopper. Here's the D-Mech. And the D-Life for Gap. Timeless here. Should be able to hold things off after a difficult first map for them. This D.Va comp? Man,
yeah,
it looks amazing just to answer Amplify's Winston dive.
I don't really love the comp from Amplify on offense. I think you need the Brig. I think playing the Widow, right? Especially with the D.Va on the other side. I think it's a little bit risky, right? And also, if you're just trying to put so many resources to play into it, I think it can be quite tough where, I mean, you kind of see what happens when you're not getting these like crazy pickoffs from the Widow and whatnot. You're going to get held pretty close here to the choke.
Yeah, as far as Dorado is concerned, this has been a very, very short map thus far. And Amplify, it's a comp that evidently is aimed at playing to the strengths of some of these individuals here, but the Torb is banned out. It was a Widow instead of a potential Sojourn, and yeah, the Lucio decision. And obviously Amplify have an extra support player here, so there's no question about whether they or not they can put together a support composition that's sufficient. But I think you were saying when you saw the sub, you're like, okay, this is clearly to give them a Brig option. Doesn't turn out to be the case.
It's the Ana, so Ewan stays in, so he plays the Lucio always for this team. But yeah, I feel like you need the Brig option. I mean, at least, right? I mean,
that Nano Winston play as well for Gap. Like, I'm not sure if I get it.
Yeah.
And if that's a mechanical error and they missed the jump, then fair enough, but it costs them the round.
We also didn't see it because the Brig is playing up there, so it could have been a whip shot. We didn't actually get a chance to see from Lucamino's POV.
100%. Well, Bionade already connects on the Gap. That's something that in the past, Winstons haven't had to fear when playing on that high ground, but there's now a lift that gets you up there. Riker? Definitely causing issues, but not fully committing. This is very neither here nor there play from the D.Va, as they just want to try and draw some of these resources out. Nice bio. It's quite under some pressure, but I don't think Gap has actually got the wherewithal to go deep enough to get rid of the Ana. So Timeless shrugged that bio off, and now they get back on the front foot. Cart is on the move once more.
Yeah, Yeah, so you see just the nuisance that Riker can be, just kind of contesting that high ground time and time again, getting a crazy cat in Winter's faces as Gap does get hit with a sleep. Just trying to cross here to the high ground is D.Va can just pump out a lot of damage. I mean, obviously doesn't have the same survivability as like a Winston, but just the dueling power, right? Being able to get to the high ground, do those micro missiles, right? Just force players back.
Oh, so the score is in danger for a moment there, but clearly Gap wants to head elsewhere. All of time is doing such a good job of staying grouped up and not offering any soft underbelly for Amplify to go after.
A nano already is huge.
Again, surely on the DV here, Riker can actually go aggressive with that. No, okay, chop. Okay, well, I can't believe I ever questioned it, really. Doesn't quite hit the rail there, but enough damage was done to Winter that Rocket could come through with the cleanup, and this one is going to be over very, very quickly, folks. Timeless Sony lose about 90 seconds or so across the map, and they are going to get a map win on Dorado.
I mean, Timeless just kind of ran through him here in map number 2. So Amplify, they put up a great performance in map number 1. It is a shot right back there from Timeless in map number 2. I think positive for Amplify, though, the Torb is going to be back in, right? So you know that the Torb was definitely an issue in map number 1. You can pick a map that definitely suits you a little bit better, maybe playing around that Torb, like Torb with a Sojourn or something like that going into the next map. And have a chance to get it to match point, and then you win another map, right? They can't get rid of the Torb again, so you're in another advantageous spot.
It's not even that. It's that because Amplify have won the first map of this series, if it goes to 5, they'll get map pick on that map number 5, which is important because again, that's when the pool opens back up, and you have a lot more option to choose a battlefield that suits you well. So. For Amplify fans, wouldn't worry. It does feel like they've got the guaranteed 1 map win in this series. Again, they out of 4 out of 5 series, Amplify have managed to win at least a map. But I mean, on Dorado, they look pretty horrendous. I'll be honest with you. It's really a masterful round. I think Rocket's Tracer and Riker's D.Va really go hog wild on them.
I think they'll go back though, Amplify, and watch some of this game, and it's like, okay, like we should probably just play something that aligns with the comp that we see Timeless doing on the other side of things, right? They can most certainly play Tracer, Sojourn, like you can also play like the Winston, doesn't exactly need to be the D.Va, right? You can kind of mirror this type of composition. Probably works out way better.
Yeah, you might be right. Obviously, definitely some things to consider, I think, going forward here for Amplify. And it begs the question. I feel like that map pool now, of course, we have, four different pools for them to choose from. We've obviously had a escort map now selected. So, that obviously does still leave the hybrid flashpoint pool open.
Some of our KDs just look insane this year, where we got like the 17.5, like.
Hoy. 4 deaths across the whole map.
It's not a lot.
The whole map?
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, considering escort, right? And the round obviously extremely long, so only 4 deaths, extremely impressive there. You kind of see why they get caught up right at the choke. I'm curious what Amplify decides to do, right? Suravasa, we see a lot of teams go to. Like, do you decide to go to Suravasa? Like, it feels like, at least for me, like I almost wouldn't, because you probably have a good feeling that you're going to see it come out from Timeless, let's say, if you end up winning the next map, right? But how do you feel about like Esperanza? I mean, that's kind of Coliseo. I mean, you're kind of taking your chances, I think. So they actually go Suravasa. So they decided to just play it right now. Yeah. Take their chance.
I think a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, and getting to 2 maps here is crucial. They got a map here which like really is just about those brawl.
They've also won this before as well, right?
Yes.
We've seen them win this before, so this is something they feel pretty comfortable on.
Like I said, it gives them the chance. Like a win here means that when the map 5, if that map 5 comes around, mind you, they can look at a refreshed map pool and try and go to one of their best arenas. So I think it's fine. You get those map wins when you can. This would be Amplify looking for their first series in which they've won more than a singular map. And they look great on the Malka comp. I think they can handle Riker on the Orisa pretty comfortably. There are obviously a number of different options on this map, but like those are the 2 comps
I like
a lot of.
I was gonna say, if you're Amplify, I would have banned the Genji or the Tracer if I was Amplify. So they decided to ban that one. The Tracer here in this is gonna make the Torb even stronger, right? And the Maga ban on the other side of things. So Gap played a lot of Maga in map number 1. You probably are looking at what, like Ramatra or Risa.
These are
here
great bands.
for Amplify, right?
I didn't think Ramatra fancies that frontline fight into Arisa generally, but you know, limiting Rocket's hero pool now, knowing that he'd have to potentially play Genji into top, which is awful, absolute torture, means that we can get very interesting comps here.
Timeless could also end up trying to play like a ball here potentially, right? So a lot of things open up with these stance.
That's a great point. I mean, again, when infected in our league, we will see Wrecking Ball on every map probably by the time we're done. But we've seen it get value, be viable on this map, providing players can make use of it. I was really interested to hear Lethal's thoughts on it. That the assertion was that Wrecking Ball is designed as a crutch for teams that have pretty poor front and backline coordination, which is definitely curious. But Timeless more than happy to abuse it when possible. Look at our backlines here. I want to see what they look like when we come out, but you kind of hinted at them out. We get a ball into a Ramatra situation. Winter and Phone, they're on great heroes for themselves, though.
And Crazy Cat stays in the game, right? So Crazy Cat will stay in the game for Amplify. As Timeless, they'll go Kiri Ana here in terms of the backline. So see how they kind of play around this Ramatra setup. How we saw Lethal play, right? You know, hacking and constantly with that ball. Look to see Phone do the same type of thing.
Yeah, Riker hacked, but he's obviously able to get away. It just means that the opportunities to be diving in might be fewer and further between while they're trying to shrug off the damage and the hacks themselves. Gap, though, has got to respect the Echo. It's got to be pretty hard outside of, you know, good use of the Vortex to interact with an Echo for Ramatra, rather. Winter surely has that kill. She's baited in. Oh, Ludmino gets away with everything, and Timeless find crucial picks to start this fight on the right foot.
Yeah, players from Timeless able to play so far away at range. Chopper, Lucamino, Squid able to play at a pretty far range, and Chopper kicked things off with a railgun shot, right? And right after that, the pile driver from Riker comes down onto the point, and even though it's a little bit of percentage gain by Amplify, it's going to be Timeless taking the lead.
Riker again hacked, but it's pretty inconsequential. They're still going to have a window here to start the fight off, and the ball buys a lot of space for this Sojourn. We're pretty familiar with how powerful that combo is. Pile driver into railgun tends to account for most 250 or less HP heroes in the game. Here we go again. We're going to have a duplicate online as well. Ramatra copied with an Annihilation could be devastating for Amplify, who do have a bit of a brawly front line. The rocket falls. Phone is able to take them out of the fight here, and Riker probably has no business being here any longer either.
Yeah, the Echo could be an easy target, right? If you get a hack onto the Echo, kind of falls down from the sky. He's trying to use his Vortex. A nice connection there on the Chopper. They actually use a Nano on him to keep him up.
I think they realized they overstayed here, man, but the Nano might not save Chopper at this rate. Good slide to get back to the rest of the team, but I'm scared for Squid as well.
Oh, they flipped the point.
That is so cheeky. They draw Amplify back off it. What a great choice to make in that moment.
And that's their beat as well. I mean, that's brutal.
I mean, yeah, I'm frazzled. They're completely discombobulated at the moment. Phone needs a big EMP. There it is. And a follow-up on Riker has to be there, but Gap's already gone down. Riker eventually falls. Rocket out of the game, but Chopper's definitely making up for the lack of personnel on the side of Timeless. What a comprehensive point win here for Timeless. The rotations were perfect, and I thought even they overextended Chopper, man. They turned that into an advantage.
They wanted that kill onto Chopper so bad. They full commit onto it. They end up using their beat to try and push in. You don't even get the Sojourn. And while that's happening, they get the point back capped on them. I mean, that is a brutal scenario to be in for Amplify, because you end up throwing in all these ultimates towards the end, and you got absolutely nothing to show for it. I mean, now this is going to allow Timeless to be pretty aggressive here, right? You can use this dupe. Do you dupe the Ramatra? You can go for like a Kiri. I mean, a bunch of good options.
Sort of hinting at that previously. Oh, nicely done, and that's the risk sometimes for Sombra. Run afoul of a Kiriko, and a couple of kunais later, you're in a hospital bed. Big bio on Gap. God, they can't make use of this Annihilation right now either. They're going to have to probably give this point up to Timeless to start with.
Yes, Gap, again, just takes a lot of damage at the start of some of these fights, and it's just the other team able to focus down the Ramatra in the front line. As you see, I mean, just so annoying. Gets moved back. It's going to be Winter's Overclock. She's looking. I mean, not a lot of targets here coming out.
Okay, so we have the dupe for Ramatra for Rocket, but it's more being used for just holding the point. It's like subbing in for Riker while they go and pick up some health packs. So no Annihilation really here for Rocket, I would suggest, with only a couple seconds left, but they are going to eat much of the damage from Gaps. Bionade, though, connecting onto the Ramatra, and then Annihilation expires, as does Gap's Life Force. It is Timeless going from strength to strength here. They even hold the Nano for a later date.
Pile Driver comes in, finishes off Phone there, just knocking them off for Chopper to dial in. So we're gonna see, okay, so Queen coming in here for Amplify. I like the Torb. You get rid of the Tracer, right? Early on, it's a great way to kind of get the Torb into the mix, and Torb's been extremely impactful for Amplify so far. I know, especially in the first map of the series. We'll see. This swap will get them the point back, as they're in a brutal spot. Crazy Cat drops that Kitsune Rush, gets hit with a shot from the railgun right away.
Okay, Nano here on Chopper, but they're a little bit low. They'd love to build a overclock by this point, but Timers feel like they have to regroup, and I tend to agree. They get the sound barrier, they get the Kitsune Rush all out of Amplify here. And now when they come back, they've got a little bit at least to work with. Crazy Cat did go down, and I'm a little bit scared for Gap here now as Phone's EMP is turned off. Riker hits it for the top rope. A Sombra pancake, by the way. That is dirty.
Man, I'd love to see if we get a clip of that, because I believe actually Phone is invisible at the time, and Riker's just going up there to the high ground and just lands right on top of her. I mean, just a pancake there. I thought maybe for Timeless, right, you back out and you're going to end up using the minefield or an overclock, and you don't need either, man. I mean, you just hold on to these ultimates moving forward. It has been all Timeless here on Suravasa.
Riker with the mines held over from their previous fight. Just winning with some ridiculous edges. I've got to say, Timeless sometimes walking a tightrope in some of these engagements, but boy, the individuals have definitely gotten them the extra distance. That's what I'm looking for here. Big EMP. Oh, that is going to account for Chopper very quickly, but it's traded out instantly. Riker sees Phone coming a mile off apparently, and Gap needs to get Suzu'd instantly. Unfortunately, the focusing beam just wrecks the Junker Queen, even with that invulnerability frame. And so, when Timeless come to call Amplify, I'm going to have to vacate the premises.
And there's no way you're going to be able to keep Gap alive during that, right? Even with like a Suzu from Crazy Cat, where it takes a lot of damage there from the Wrecking Ball, and then the focusing beam up top. You lose Winter here, so you're going to get staggered out even more. And I think this is a brutal choke for Amplify to work through, because the minefield here could be really tough to work around. I mean, there's only really two. I mean, there's three entrances to the point, but one is just a really far wraparound. Only two options. You can basically cut off one of the chokes if you need.
Absolutely. And the Queen idea here for Gap. I mean, is it disruptive enough? Lucamino did get caught there. Winter with a Molten Core. Tough to really find use out of that against such a mobile composition, but other things that Tor brings to your team. Gap, though, down. Tor, I wish Tor brought a res to the team after that one. This is going to get Timeless some extra percentage now. They have no tank to work with, and God, if Riker gets away, Timeless are not leaving this point for anything. The ball escapes. Back to safety. Kitsune Rush here mirrored by both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, Riker's going to get a health pack, get right back into the action. So you're going to have Riker back. It's going to be
Wanting by watching
for you, and I mean, you need to. It's last fight.
I mean, I know, but these ultimates coming out hand over fist, and Amplifier just not getting any value out of them whatsoever. Molten Core on the point. Nobody's standing there. It's too mobile a composition. Then they lose Phone to a Bionade. They sound barrier after losing another player. It's a catastrophe. And Timeless emerge from the chaos with yet another map win.
Yeah, the ball just really impactful there for Timeless. The thing with the ball is, like, the fights are never unwinnable, so to speak, right? The fights just kind of continue. If you don't get the ball, like, and you'll get health packs constantly linger around. Excited to see what happens with that perk, where I believe the ball can actually get more health from the health packs. That'll make them even more devastating in these types of scenarios. And you see right there, when you're not able to get rid of the ball, right? It's like 40-50%. Riker still lingers, still stays alive, and they're able to kind of keep him alive on the point, right? Kitsune rushes everything thrown in there at the end, because absolutely needed to, but don't deal with that Wrecking Ball, you're in a lot of trouble.
All right, so we see this around start, of course, with this Ramatra pick from Gap. And in fairness, they stick to it for quite a while, but it's this Annihilation that gets disengaged from, and then Gap gets shut down. That, for me, just seems like the nail in the coffin for that comp. What do you think about, and there's so few highlights here, we've already skipped to the last flashpoint. What do you think is the rationale behind the Junker Queen switch, and does it really achieve that aim?
We've seen teams play the Queen into the ball a few times now. And, like, you know what? You can get the knife, kind of bring the ball back to you, try and finish the ball off. But I don't know, man. I actually think you're probably better off with, like, the Ramatra, you know, oddly enough. than trying to play like the queen. At least from what
you don't
we've
interact
seen.
with so much of the comp. Like when you switch off the Ramatra doesn't do much to Echo anyway, but
No.
like, you know, Vortex can be effective in a pinch. But when you're playing Queen, you're just sacking the Echo. You're ignoring it, and you're hoping that obviously, you know, like your Sombra can drag her down. You can, you know, hit.
But you're not
her.
charging down the supports either, right? Like you're not. Like,
They
what are you
switch
gonna
step
do?
away.
Like,
There's so much
Yeah.
mobility in that composition. Like Wrecking Ball is never getting hit by a Rampage. Like what are you going to do to hold the ball in place? You can knife the ball and gank them back, but I think that on its own is not enough to apply enough CC to the Wrecking Ball to actually put the fear of God in them, to keep them honest a little bit, right? So, I mean, that was a map pick here for Amplify, who have often gone to Suravasa as the answer, but I honestly think the Malga ban absolutely ruined them.
yeah, the Maga is another one that we see teams go to against the ball, right? And Gap seems to really like playing the Maga. So coming up next, one of the 2 push maps here. Esperanza seems to be like the always kind of go-to, right? We'll see if that's where they decide to take us.
Yeah, I guess it's the kind of map that obviously does allow you to play some more of those brawly stars. I think Malga is going to be entirely valid on that map. I do think that there are a lot of options that are opened up for you. I've, you know, even seen players trying to push Doomfist to its limits on this particular map. It's one where you do have that oppressive high ground that you have to find a way to control. So sometimes these brawl comps on the front foot don't have a good way of actually getting up there or, you know, trying to overcome that sort of disadvantage topographically that attackers tend to face on this map. So you might look to, you know, try and bring a comp in that, you know, can alleviate that, can get up there, or a comp that's just so durable that begs the defenders to come down and fight them.
I mean, Coliseo would also be like a fascinating pick, just like a big curveball in the mix, right? But you can play some Wrecking Ball on Coliseo. We've seen teams play it, but Esperanza, they, you know, lock it in. When you see push, Esperanza is going to be the one in this stage, at least, with you know, just it and Coliseo in the pool. On Esperanza, obviously the newest push map, right? Released, you know, that and Runasampi, where I know the ones that kind of come out after release obviously have some changes that I think just benefit the game mode overall.
So it makes you wonder, okay, what are the good ban targets here? I think with Malga unable to be banned again, I don't think you bother banning a tank if you're timeless. But is there anything else you can look at? Do you try, you know, you're dealing with Torb as well, right? Torb is
What do you ban? I think what if you ban if you are Amplify? Do you ban like do you ban Genji maybe? Rocket's played some Genji and some Tracer, like
I think Genji's probably, I mean, is it preferable to Tracer on this map? I want to suggest it is, just purely because of those two bridges, but
yeah,
I mean,
Tracer's really good here. But you can't ban Tracer, right, if you are Amplify, because we've seen it gone from them already.
I mean, this map differs to Coliseo because Coliseo, the team that's ahead is disadvantaged by the high ground. On Esperanza, the team that is ahead is advantaged by the high ground. They have access to that, and it's hard to sort of come back into. So, you know, it requires a slightly different approach. Oh yeah, do we? Okay, Sombra ban. Okay, I do want if we have this come out. I don't think though with Torb available, it's necessarily going to be where Phone wants to be. The Ana ban here might be attempting to dissuade like a dive style of play, but I'm not convinced that Timeless are going to go there. I think it depends. I think this is like a let us play Malga and don't bio us kind of approach.
Right, but I think though that Timeless can play aggressively with like a ball or something with like a Kiri and a Lucio, right? Like you can probably do that. And the Sombra ban, right? I think the Sombra like opens up, like makes it a little bit easier to play the ball. But we have seen Phone that we know when they've had the most success for Amplify, it's actually when she's been on the tour in this series.
Yes. I mean, the last 2 maps, Amplify have had less than a 1 KD. Right, so
Not great.
No, I mean they've been blown out on their losing maps. I don't think there's any other way around that. Match point here for Timeless though, and so far they've been looking pretty good. This takes them to 3-1, a win here, which puts them, you know, right up at top, and then top of 3 at the very least. So Malga comps rack on the Diva. Okay, you have my attention now. Gonna have a Jericho Juno comp.
And just talk a little bit about the standings and what this one potentially means. If Timeless wins this, they actually will end up being in first. SSG in second, Nightmare third, TL4 in terms of kind of like how things work out. You know, with the head-to-head, and then you know, all 4 teams have at least 2 matches played against each other already. So really interesting stuff would come down to the wire here in North America.
The last match of the stage would be Timeless SSG as well, by the way. So
well, that's insanely
it's a detail, brother. Okay, So let's discuss this. We have like the Echo Diva look here against Amplify's, tall Malga look. I hasten to say it's the more standard approach at the moment. What do you feel about this mashup?
I mean, we've seen on Control this composition that Amplify is running be pretty good. I think the Diva into the mix is quite interesting, right? Allows for a little bit more high ground access. The defense matrix can eat up a lot of the damage that the Malga would just kind of generally put out. So we'll see Chopper take out Phone off the rip. I mean, you're just kind of playing this neutral with a lot of poke. With the railguns, right? If Chopper's able to find a pick or even just put enough damage, that allows, Rocket and Riker to go in, use that focusing beam, some of the damage from the Diva trying to finish these targets off.
And again, Timers aren't really necessarily an all-in team. This comp can really play in the neutral for quite some time. Chopper can farm the Malga pretty easily, and there's not like, outside of that cardiac overdrive cooldown, there's actually not a lot of like volume of healing for Amplify's comp. Whereas, like, you could argue Timers has a little bit more of that, plus they also have an orbital wave. It doesn't really feel like a huge combo, in this Timeless roster, given that they're a little more mobile and spread out of the map sometimes. But if they need to group up to make use of that orbital wave, they definitely can. There's nothing that, stops them from getting healed and damage boosted from that ability. So they're taking a ton of space here from Timers. A really flexible composition.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be first checkpoint here for Timeless, and they didn't really use much. I mean, just the Kitsune rush here. I mean, you're set up now with high ground. You're in a great spot if you are Timeless. And also something that the Diva does, it also is a bit easier to play against the Torb, right? That defense matrix eating up a lot of the, just kind of side damage the Torb would put down. That's why Phone goes over to Genji.
God, I mean, and Timeless has come to so much with his high ground. You get a perch for Rocket, Chopper has this ridiculous advantage, and Riker has somewhere to return to get healed up and then dive in again. Duping Malga here, potentially Rocket to stay alive. Doesn't have to, in fact, as the shot from Winter does come glancing through. Rocket steps back, gets healed up, and we are good to go. Couldn't say the same for Hewan, though, as he's had a laser extremity reassignment.
Man, even with Amplify, right? Pushing a little bit more, the bot towards mid-map. Timeless ends up winning the fight, and we're going to fight basically in the same exact spot that we just ended up having one. Is this time Lucamino is going to be working over towards this rush, so see if he's able to get it here. It would be pretty impactful. It's like, dude, this bot has gained so much space.
Yeah, and for free at that, at least it feels that way. This is such an early overdrive cooldown use and a sound barrier committed at the same time. So now, Amplify don't have that Malga cooldown to heal under the overshield should there be some damage coming in. Ewan just blown up there by Chopper and Crazy Cat able to survive that. At least trades back some of those kunais, but yeah, Cat cycles into a second a lot of those cooldowns, but it's just not remotely enough.
And this is what, Mitch? This is basically like 2 fights, right? I mean, we kind of had, obviously, a fight at the start, right? I mean, this is essentially 2 fights. You've gotten like 89 meters on, and what now? I mean, you're on your 3rd tank here. If you're Amplify, it seems like they're just searching for answers. Rocket and your spawn with a dupe Kiri. They're running it down.
Yeah, Amplify have to regroup. I think they've realized that now, but Rocket, fair enough. You're in dupe form, may as well make use of it. And that card has now got up the hill, so the most treacherous part of the map here for Timeless has already been traversed without any opportunity for Amplify to intervene. Blade and Overclock here for Amplify, and hey, if you got him, may as well use him here. Anything to avert the calamity that would be in our full map completion. Rocket, though, looking for their time, their chance to dive into the back line. Who are they hunting? There's Riker here, has a remix should it be required, but they just back away, get healed back up. Winter here hoping to stop the Diva from remacking, but Riker is definitely going to be able to get back in. Blade here, though, from Phone, is interrupted here by Rocket's sticky bombs. Timeless traded a little bit, but it is Amplify's sheer weight of ultimates that gets them at least a fight win.
They're going to get back towards mid-map, but you're going to have another fight here fast, right? Because the front spawns here for Timeless going to kick in. Phone now going over and playing Tracer. So you're going to need like 4 or 5 fight wins, and now you're fighting uphill, right? Timeless getting this closer spawn, going to have that high ground control right away. So it looks like Amplify wants to back up. They don't want to fight here.
Orbital here. Squid going to drop down, make sure it's right next to the Diva, but now has to respect the Queen's proximity. It's dangerous out there for that Squid, but they stay high enough but inside the beam to get that healing. Switch there going to be used, forced out of the Kiriko Crazy Cat, and Chopper is waiting for them at the other end, apparently. Still, Amplify got enough to go with such that Timeless are forced to disengage briefly, but Winter, she doesn't get the memo in time, and Riker's mobility allows them to chase it down. We have a D-suited Diva here. Junker Queen will be handled though in time, and Timeless are going to be never any doubt, Matt. Never.
I really love that we're on board with Squid when they drop the orbital ray, right? You can see just kind of holding on to those missiles that the Judo can pop out to the very end, gets the amplified damage off of it, takes out Phone, able to stay alive as well as orbital ray has quickly become one of the most impactful ultimates in the game with Juno's entrance. Are they going to set up, I don't know what they're trying to set up here. Maybe it's just Lucamino just playing for a little cheeky assassination up here on the high ground.
With Everfire playing though, that's not going to be possible. If they try and dive, we can swift step away after Suzuing ourselves to see if we can maybe just dig a kill out. At this point, Timeless are just seeing what they can get for what they're wagering, which is not a whole lot. They're still in a pretty safe position. I wouldn't say they're taking any huge risks. Gap caught out in the open and taken quite low. Commanding Shout gets them a little bit of durability, but I'd be hiding now from Chopper. It's about to be a rain of rail guns, and they travel at the speed of light, folks. Chopper.
Dude, that's the beat as well.
Yep, and that's not enough to save your queen. It's brutal stuff. You have a duped queen of your own. Oh, buddy! Ewan caught inside helicopter blades.
Ewan takes one for the team.
Yeah, just like thrown into the fenestrine.
Yeah, prevents the rest of the squad getting chopped up there by the blades of Rocket's duped Junker Queen. As now we get back to the home stretch, and Lucamino's got a Kitsune rush here, so perfect opportunity. Oh, Riker eats the pulse bomb. It seems nothing can go right for Amplify.
That one, pulse bomb could have been a difference maker. At least cut them off the starter's block again. Bot's moving back the other way, but Ewan is down, and eventually time is going to come to collect, and the debt is steep, folks. It's been a lot of interest for Amplify as they have been trespassing in Timeless's territory for, I don't know, the better part of 7.5 minutes. Here's Riker at the door. The eviction squad has arrived.
As soon as you actually see Winder pop the overclock, they just wrap around the corner and they just push on right through. So Kitsune rush here used by Crazy Cat. It's going to be Gap tries to get the Queen ultimate off, but takes a railgun shot from Chopper. As it seems like just a matter of time before Timeless pushes it in. Yeah.
Oh, buddy, that is absolutely brutal. Let us not anymore put too much stock in the first map of a series, because Timeless,
man,
had they played this way on that control map, well, we wouldn't have got to Esperanza, I don't think. We wouldn't have got that far in the series. We do get there, they do get their one, Amplify, but the other 3 maps in this series are about as dominant as you're going to see in OWCS this
yeah, maybe map 1 a little bit of a wake-up call for Timeless, right? And then they kind of showed up big time the rest of the series.
Yeah, I got so excited after map 1. I was like, ooh, we're cooking, we're doing something, this is nice. We underestimated Amplify, and quite frankly, they are a great team. They really are. Just in this one, Timeless started cruising. There was no stopping them.
I thought they were really bothered by the Torb early on, but that seemed to be about it, right?
I love all the Phone respect bans, though. I take the Sombra away from her and whatnot. It's just Phone, always a threat. Generally, like, Winter and Phone have been impressing me ever since their first showing here in OWCS this season.
Yeah, I think that this team has a great DPS line, especially. Look, I've got to say, like, some of the Ewan sound barriers, I think, over the course of this series just come out at really unfortunate moments. Like, there's maybe a mild disconnect that's happening here. And on this map, like, I don't hold it against Ewan. It's really hard when your team is getting pummeled into paste, trying to line up sound barriers to save players. Pummeled into paste. Yeah. You know, it's like hard glue. To line up sound barriers to save people. That's right. The Hons off to the glue factory. That's what Amplify looked like in the last 3 of those maps. It was brutal.
Yeah, okay. It was not great for Amplify after the first game. But I think, look, I feel like sometimes those beats are in such a rough spot where, like, Gap is extremely low. He's playing Junker Queen, and they have, like, high ground. Like, what do you really do for you? And you need to make something happen, right? You need to keep your tank alive. So it's be quite tough.
Yep. It's hard to do that against Echo as well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Amplify will stack up in their next match. It's going to be against Team Liquid tomorrow already. But for now, let's celebrate the winners some more. Riker earning themselves the player of the match honors. Riker showed a lot of versatility. I really like what we're seeing from the tank play there.
I mean, this is the tank player that has been at it for quite some time now. Like going even back further than those Wisp days when we first saw Riker in like the Pro-Ams in, God, what was that, 23?
When he first caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, generally, there's not a whole lot they can't do. And I think that they would definitely put in some tricky spots. D.Va is not the most common tank because, again, she requires players to have a really good understanding of what's happening in their periphery. And Ryker is an excellent spatial awareness, I think, to not only play offense at times, especially when there's a nano boost coming his way, but also being able to disrupt enemy dive tanks. I'm really impressed, I think, with what we saw, especially on Dorado.
Yeah, I think so are we all. And that's why Riker got themselves the player of the match. So congratulations to Riker. And now we're getting ready for our post-match interview. I believe Chopper will be joining us for a voice-only interview. So let's bring him in and celebrate the dub. Chopper, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's chat a little bit about this match. Map 1 looked like they had you rattled a little bit. How did you rally the troops and get your heads back into the game heading into map 2?
Honestly, I think map 1, a lot of our guns were just like jammed, you know, like they just weren't working.
Yeah.
Two of our ults were bad too, but I don't know, our guns just weren't really shooting back map 1, but we figured it out after map 1 and we just kind of rolled them, I think. So, but you know, Amplify are always good for one.
Rolling was happening.
That might be the most tack shooter answer I've heard in an Overwatch interview. Nice one. Chopper, you guys obviously, there's like a tour band that comes out pretty early in the series, but then we get to see some some D.Va play backed up by some fantastic hit scan from you. What do you kind of feel like is your best style right now? Because it definitely feels like you've got some pretty targeted bans going out throughout that series to set up some like favorable maps, even the ones that you don't get to pick.
Yeah, I think especially with the hero bans, our team is really good in the more flexible comps, like on Dorado, especially like those kinds of comps where we can play the Ana, the Brig, even Luke on Kiri. Like I think we play a lot better in those kinds of comps. So we just kind of lean towards that comp for maps 2, 3, and 4. Because in map 1, we kind of try to mirror them, and we were just kind of, you know, our guns were jammed. You know, it just wasn't working. So we swapped it up, and bans were good every map. So I think that's why we did well.
No, Chopper, not sure if you're aware, but you guys move into first with this win here today against Amplify. What are your thoughts about some of the remaining games you got left? I know some tough games against some of the other teams up there in that top 4.
Yeah, I think we play Rad tomorrow, which I think will be a decent match. I think I'm most looking forward to playing SSG in, I believe, like a week. And I'm especially interested in that match because I'm pretty sure we're going to be playing with like the new perks and stuff. And I have no idea what that's going to entail, but honestly, I'm just here for the ride. Like, I'm down. Like, just see what happens.
Yeah, we're all very excited to see how the perks will play out on the servers. Chopper, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in your next match.
All right, thanks for having me again.